What's up, everyone? Jason Gilbo here at JGilbo11, breaking down some pitching on tonight's 7-game slate. It's a really loaded, top-heavy slate. It's not a lot of friendly pitching in terms of like bottom half or value guys. There's one guy that stands out to me, but I don't feel marginally great about him. He's just kind of one of those ones where I'll use him as an SP2, try and get at least some bats in there because overall it's a slate with a lot of top-heavy pitching. They're all expensive. So we'll start to kind of dissect where we're going, cash, GPP. We'll start with Chris Sale, who's on the road taking on Tampa Bay. He's your most expensive option across all the sites, which makes sense given the fact that his strikeout rates have just been tremendous this year. No doubt about it. Leads the slate in strikeout rate 35.5%, swing and strike rate of 16. Has thrown 24 strikeouts in 14 innings against Tampa this year, who have a 26.5% strikeout rate against Southpaws themselves. They also rank 20th in WOBA, 17th in ISO, so below average offense against lefties. And you kind of look, some of these hard strikeout guys, like Jacob deGrom we've seen, Chris Archer, they're allowing a little bit more of a hard contact as well. They're kind of trading in some of that, more pitch to contact, get some weaker contact. And kind of giving up some more hard contact. Sale has kind of not been that way. It's 28.6%. It's not up over 30 like some of these other guys. So still inducing some medium to weak contact. The only downside to him is just really the price tag. Once again, this slate is just really top heavy. FanDuel, once again, you're never going to really have an issue paying up for whoever and getting bats. But DraftKings, 13-3. You look at cheap guys, I'll get to one, but, Jose Barrios is probably the most comfortable one, and he's 9.6. So, that's just kind of the issue that we're talking about here on DraftKings in terms of cash games, and you can take some risks in GPPs and go a little bit cheaper. You might be able to go with maybe a McCullers, Barrios type lineup, and kind of go that route instead and maybe save that or just kind of bump up that extra 2K to get some safety instead of going stars and scrubs at your pitching spot. So it's one note to make. But talking about Lance McCullers, this is a guy who's just been really solid this year. I've heard some stuff on people said before, away from home McCullers isn't as good. He had 2 starts earlier this year against Cleveland and Oakland where he gave 5 earned runs. Those two obviously in a small sample size are going to be struggling, but over his last 3 road starts, 24 strikeouts, 5 earned runs allowed. He's been really solid. The strikeout rate's back up on the road. Once again, he just continues to really thrive. Has yet to allow over 3 earned runs since that start against Cleveland. That was April 26th. He's been really strong. Wish he was pitching a little bit deeper into games. That's one of my issues with him. But, I would not be surprised to see him work into 6th, 7th inning here and kind of dominate these Jays because it's a right-handed heavy lineup. Justin Smoke, Kendrys Morales are really the only lefties that are any concern. But he's been dominant against lefties. 250 WOBA allowed, 27% strikeout rate. Righties, 277 WOBA allowed, 30.7% strikeout rate. And then we get to what I love about him the most is the fact that he just keeps everything on the ground that is in play. 64% ground ball rate, keeps the ball in the yard, doesn't walk a lot of guys. Blue Jays, really pedestrian offense, 23rd in WOBA against righties, 20.7% strikeout rate. So I have no issues with McCullers in any format. Given the fact that even with him on the road, he's a strong favorite right now, -157. So very much in play for me. Then we move elsewhere. We'll move out to LA. This game features 2 lefties with some strikeout upside, both great GPP plays. I won't be quite going this way in cash games. You can make the case a lot for Rich Hill on FanDuel, where he's only 8,700. Far cheaper than guys like McCullers, Barrios, even Chris Sale. You can make that route where you can actually get maybe an extra bat or 2 in there with that upside. So you look at Rich Hill. I joked around about him in the article, just saying it's a twilight zone that he's pitched back-to-back games going 7 innings because it's just not something I'm used to seeing. Arizona offense, bottom 5 against lefties this year, 28th in WOBA, 25.8% strikeout rate. They also struggle away from home. You just look at what he's done over his last 3 starts. 26 strikeouts. The strikeout rate, swinging strike rate percentage is back. We haven't seen it over a longer sample size this year, but those 3 starts are certainly solid. The walk rate's been an issue, 12.5%. He's limited a little bit of late, but the Diamondbacks are pretty free swinging. They don't have a high strikeout rate against left or a high walk rate against lefties, so I'm not all that concerned. Hill's just kind of a GPP guy. I just prefer McCullers or selling cash games, while Hill is kind of more that GPP guy. But on the other side, I mean, you can really make a case for Robbie Ray too. Dodgers lefties, are kind of neutralized against Ray. He's also a guy who's been much better away from home this year outside of Chase Field. He's been really, really good. 31% strikeout rate against just overall in the season, 13.3% swinging strike rate. That's the third highest on the slate. This is a guy once again, I like away from home. I like the upside, especially against the Dodgers offense. I know some of their right-handed bats are starting to come around a little bit more against lefties, but still have the strikeout rate upside. So Robbie Ray, once again, just kind of that tournament pivot that you can make. I won't go there in cash games, but GPPs, he has that potential. Jose Barrios, next guy here, managed over 20 DK points, over 40 FanDuel points against Baltimore earlier this season. Couple shaky starts, last 2 outs. He's allowed 900 runs against Kansas City and Boston, both on the road. We're starting to see Barrios, struggle a little bit on the road, whereas home he's been really solid. Going to face a right-handed heavy lineup. Back to home and away things. He's allowing a 207 WOBA at home compared to 332 WOBA away. Against righties, 29% strikeout rate. That's kind of what we're looking at here against a Baltimore team that does strike out nearly 23% of the time against righties. They also rank 20th in WOBA. This is a team that's currently, I'm doing this like before, but currently, I mean, they're getting shut down by Matt Garza in Miller Park. So this is just kind of a story of where this offense is right now. They can blow up at any time, just given the fact that they are a bunch of power, fly ball hitting right-handers. But Barrios has been really good against righties. So, I have confidence in him in terms of cash games and SP2. If you want to cram him in there with a McCullers or a Sale, you're just leaving yourself little to no room for bats. But once again, I mean, maybe we get some decent value that pops up in the lab. Maybe you can do it. Because outside that, SP2 is going to be really tough. So, but in terms of that SP2, I mean, we have some cheaper guys. Jacob Faria has been really solid, but I don't know if this is a spot that I'll look to use him with. I wish he was maybe $500 to $1,000 cheaper. Mike Fultonowitz, I mean, I know Bryce Harper was out yesterday. I don't think it was anything severe. It might have been just an off day. But, if he was out, you can make the case for him against the Nationals with some upside at a cheap price. But outside that, I mean, I just don't like anyone else. Danielson LeMay, this is a guy who's an interesting GPP play. The hard contact rate's still there, but he's got an incredible strikeout rate. I don't mind him in GPPs. He is a cheap one to use as SP2, but this Cleveland team is just really tough against righties. Josh Tomlin, he's just bad enough to even keep me away from using him against San Diego. The same thing kind of goes for Dylan Bundy, too. I don't like the matchup against Minnesota. I know he dominated them earlier this year. He's only 6,300 on DraftKings, but I'm just not buying it. I just think this front five is going to be tough and kind of give them a little bit of trouble, especially the lefties. So where I'm headed is a bigger ballpark against an offense that's a little bit banged up. They're missing Ryan Healy. They got a lot of standout values who hit every now and then. I know Oakland's starting to kind of creep up in terms of WOBA, but this is still a high strikeout team. Against righties, 25.5%. Do rank 16th in WOBA. They do rank 5th in ISO. I'm going to give them their credit because I'm a sucker for this Oakland offense at times and using them. But, Gaviglio's a guy who at home he's been a lot better. 303 WOBA allowed compared to 351 on the road. Ground ball rate over 50%. I like to see 22.4% home run to fly ball ratio. I think that's going to drop a little bit. I don't think that's going to be really sustainable. This is once again just kind of an SP2, so you can fit in some bats. He doesn't have a ton of strikeout upside. I'm not looking for strikeout upside. I'm looking for a good quality start. We've seen him go out there and toss about 10, 15 DK points. You're basically hoping that your McCullers or Sale can get you 30 plus, and you're kind of getting 40 points between your two pitchers there and kind of getting some bats in with them. So, not a ton of upside, but the last time we saw actually Gaviglio face an offense that's similar to Oakland, it was Tampa, and he had 6 strikeouts over 5 innings. So, he hasn't faced a lot of high strikeout teams. That teams you'd expect him to go out there and dominate, but I could see maybe creeping up into that 5 strikeout range, which would be really, really nice over 6 innings or so. So he's kind of limited damage, not a high upside guy, but once again, he's just kind of that SP2 that might be able to kind of float you by and get you some salary. So that's going to wrap things up here. You can head over to DaveFantasyCafe.com, check out our tools and content.